Welcome to an Esper deck tech video for this new Hashaton Scarab's Fist. So it's a black and white 2 mana cost legendary creature 1/2 zombie wizard. But it also has a blue colored pip in a triggered ability, which means that it also has the color identity of blue, making it into an Esper commander. Whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay blue and 2. If you do, create a tap token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. This means that it's a natural reanimator commander for big, stompy, expensive creatures. And today's deck list is brought to us by Pontus. The basic core strategy is to have a bunch of very expensive big stompy creatures and a lot of discard effects. With enough ratio of discard and big creatures, you're going to have one of the two in your hand together somehow. For example, Frantic Search. Draw 2, discard 2 and untap 3 lands. A cool part about Magic is that you have to let a spell finish resolving until the next thing can happen on the stack. So you're going to resolve Frantic Search, discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards, and then untap 3 lands, and you will untap the lands before you're forced to pay for the commander's ability. This means that you can use the lands you tapped to cast Frantic Search to activate the commander's ability. But there are lots of different variations of effects that can make you discard cards, like Ghostly Pilferer. Discard a card, Ghostly Pilferer can't be blocked this turn, which means that you can actually discard things in instant speed. That actually takes us into a very cool concept, Fast as Oracle in instant speed. Just imagine that you have an instant speed way to discard a card. You have Fastest and Consult in hand, and it's an opponent's turn and that opponent is trying to win, and everyone is throwing counterspells at them and basically consuming up resources here and there. And you're just leaning back, rolling your thumbs, and when it feels like, okay, everyone has basically consumed their counter magic, now I'm gonna fire off and win on top of an opponent's win in instant speed. That is a very good concept. We also have, obviously, as we're going to play something of a reanimator strategy, where we're going to reanimate big creatures, Hoarding Broodlord. So obviously we don't need to be commander-centric. We can easily play Entomb and reanimate, and win with the Hoarding Broodlord Saw in Half combo, finding Peer into the Abyss. Some worthy mentions when it comes to big creatures: Astral Dragon. When Astral Dragon enters the battlefield, create 2 tokens that are copies of target non-creature permanent. You can target your opponents here, basically gaining almost something of double Phyrexian Metamorph, except they are free dragon creatures in addition to their other types, and they have flying. I have seen people make double Rhystic Study with Astral Dragon. Obviously, Consecrated Sphinx, Hullbreaker Horror, so you can generate infinite mana, Yingitaxis Progress Tyrant, Elesh Norn, that gives all your creatures +2/+2 and all your opponents -2/-2, Void Winnower, Nessahal Primal Tide, basically a big Rhystic Study creature. But there's also something very interesting about this Elder Dinosaur, is that it actually comes with a discard ability on its own. Discard 3 cards, exile this and return it tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of its next end step. So Nessahal Primal Tide actually has a way to protect itself, but also to fuel your discard concept. And I would like to recommend Wandering Archaic as well. But there are some very key cards that could be very interesting to trick into play. For example, a Grand Abolisher. Your opponents are gonna cast Force of Will on your Grand Abolisher if they can, but counterspelling an ability is a little bit more tricky. Another key card we have to talk about is Tortured Existence. It's a 1 black mana enchantment. You can pay 1 black mana, choose and discard a creature card, which is perfect. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It is worth mentioning that the commander doesn't exile the card he's making a token of. He is just making a token. The creature stays in the graveyard, so you can actually sit here and loop various creatures forever. Or well, as long as they aren't legendary. But you can build like an army of Wandering Archaics, or an army of Grand Abolishers that are 4/4. If you have a lot of mana, a lot of creatures in your graveyard, and your commander you can really get the ball rolling, so to say, and you can really get into a very late game grindy setup with this black enchantment. Another concept we have to talk about is necropotence and necrodominance. These two black enchantments will exile basically everything you discard, but you're still discarding them. You're still creating a trigger on your commander. So let's say you have necropotence in play. You pay an enormous amount of life, you dig through your deck until you find Thassa's Oracle and Consult. You go to your end step and you do nothing. You discard to hand size. You announce that you're discarding Thassa's Oracle, and you're going to pay the commander's ability to put a token into play and get an ETB trigger, then respond with Consult and win the match. And the same thing goes for necrodominance as well. It's also worth mentioning, by the way, that this is a very low cost commander. You only 2 CMC, so Mox Amber and Springleaf Drum are gonna be active quite early in the game. And because you're adding Springleaf Drum and Mox Amber, you can easier add in Mox Opal too. So as a finalized review, it is a very open commander that allows a lot of different pathways you can build it on, and basically have a lot of different ways to win the game with still. A lot of different ways to puzzle together a victory. It absolutely comes with a lot of late game beatdown potential, a lot of mid game grindy capacity, but also once again a lot of different win con potentials of how you can puzzle together victories, as well as being a free color esper commander. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and thank you so much for watching. As already mentioned, link in the description below of this video for a Moxfield deck list that you can scroll around in and see for yourself exactly how this build has been basically put together. And some spoilers, we already have a gameplay match that's gonna happen with this commander showcased in action. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.